Alright, I'm good. Alright, man. You want to adjust a little bit? I gotta
Get that short neck, bro. What's the name?
I got draft neck, bro.
You good?
Tequila spikes.
It's tequila spikes, you know?
Tequila, bro.
Every time you call tequila, bro.
Does tequila have a neck, bro? I'm not convinced he has a neck.
I don't think everybody knows what tequila is. Bro, hit the button. Let's start the game, bro. Yeah, come on, bro. Get your life together. Oh, CouchPotatoGM.com is the website. Couch Potato General Manager, the YouTube channel. You know it because you're on it. We're here to discuss the game of the week. Do y'all know who the game of the week is? It is. Who is it? The Houston Texans
at the Baltimore Ravens. It's not a strong week in terms of matchups, but this is the best matchup of the week.
Could have went Patriots Eagles.
Huh?
Could have went Patriots Eagles.
The Eagles ain't playing like the old Eagles
Okay.
when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl a couple
Facts.
seasons ago. But
Facts.
you know, these two teams are hot, man. Ravens on a 5-game win streak.
Get your life together.
And the Texans has won 4 out of the last 5 games.
bro.
Yeah.
So two hot teams coming on, division leaders of the AFC North and South. You know, we talked about the Ravens a couple of weeks ago, man. It was like, who have they played? And ever since then, they've beaten some pretty good teams, man. The Seahawks, the Patriots. So these guys are hot right now.
Are the Patriots good though?
That's the question.
I'm just joking with y'all. Just joking. They did take it to the Patriots 2 weeks ago. We got some technical difficulties here going on.
YouTube?
He has it.
Oh, let me check it.
All right. Anyways, yeah, man. So 2 weeks ago, the Baltimore Ravens played the New England Patriots. They took it to them. I think the score was 37-20. They punched them in the mouth. I know I was watching the game, and I know that the Patriots scored 10 points. You know, off of turnovers, and with the it was inside the Ravens' like 10-yard line, and so, you know, we good. All right, we good, guys. But yeah, man, they took it to the Patriots. They punched them in the mouth. It was kind of what I expected. Check that game. I don't know, these two over here, they were talking about the Patriots. Y'all said the Patriots gonna win, right?
Yeah.
You said the Patriots gonna win? Okay, just making sure. But I believed in Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I didn't believe in the Patriots. There were phonies out there. Just joking. They're not phonies. They got Brady, Belichick, good defense. But yeah, man, what's going on with these Ravens, man? They went out there. They had a bye week last week.
Okay.
Yeah, they had a bye week last week.
They beat the Bengals.
Yeah. They dropped like 50-some points, 49 points. It was
Lamar took the fourth quarter off. I seen RG3, man,
Sure.
getting some run out there.
Went out there and threw a pick.
Did he?
Yeah, I saw that. Came in the game and threw a pick. But it was almost like they were Alabama playing against, you know, Arkansas or somebody like that, Kentucky, somebody like that. But the Texans were off this week. Last week, excuse me, they were off last week. They had a bye. Who did they play the week before?
It was in London, man. They bullied the Gardner Minshew Jaguars, beat them 26-3.
Roddy was hurt. Sorry, Rod. Okay, man. Let's get into this, man. Let's just dive in. We have the Houston Texans, who are going to be J.J. Wattless.
Yeah.
No J.J. Watt going against Lamar Jackson and the high-flying Baltimore Ravens, man. Let's get into it, man. What's the matchups we talking about in this game, man? Who are we looking at? Who's going to be the difference maker in these games, man? Is it the two quarterbacks?
I think the most important thing for the Texans to pull off this upset.
Here you go.
I'm gonna go to the other side of the ball, man. Are they gonna be able to run the ball on the Baltimore Ravens? The Ravens are dealing with some injuries. Dalen Mack is on the IR. Michael Pierce was also banged up, but he should be available for this game. Can Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson get the run game going? Because you're going to have to kind of run the ball to set up the pass for the Houston Texans. So I want to know how they control the trenches. You know what I'm saying? Getting 4 or 5 yards a pop from Carlos Hyde, I think it's going to do them a great service in pulling this upset.
It's your number one quarterback. Was it 3 years ago? Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson. What was he at? He was 2? Okay. All right.
I'm excited just to see the quarterbacks. I'll be honest with you. I understand where you're coming from, Headley, in terms of the X's and O's and you know, strength versus strength, but you know, you got these 2 young guys under center, shotgun, whatever it is that have so much. You're absolutely right about that. That have so much playmaking ability. You know, it's interesting to see exactly how Greg Roman has transformed this offense. I don't think that's enough of a conversation. He doesn't get enough credit. I think the hire bringing in Paul Johnson, formerly of Georgia Tech, who ran that triple option at Georgia Tech for so many years, you know, I think he deserves some credit. People, again, don't seem to realize how bad Marty Morningwig was. You know, everybody talks about this you know, meteoric leap that Lamar Jackson has made, and to his credit, he has most certainly done that. But he wasn't put in a good position, even though he had success. You know, the passing obviously was a question mark, continues to be a question mark, particularly outside the numbers. But I'm encouraged, and Lamar has done exactly what I've always seen from him, from his days back at Louisville, is he gets better. Give him an opportunity, he's going to get better. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. You know, the thing about Watson hasn't even necessarily been him getting better necessarily. It's just about him being upright. You know, as the Texans have done a better job of putting a better offensive line in front of him, you can see what he's capable of doing. You know, as teams try to take away DeAndre Hopkins, the injuries to Will Fuller and Kiki QT and so on and so on, he's finding ways, he's finding other outlets. So I'm just these 2 MVP candidates, very young players, you know what I'm saying, go up head to head.
You know, when I look at the Ravens, you know, their offense, and you've spoken to it a little bit there. You know, what was I going? The numbers on the season impressive: 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But that week 8 performance.
Lost it, bro?
Yeah, I lost it.
You talking about the Ravens offense?
So yeah, when you talk about the Ravens offense, you talk about the
team may be down later. You need the big drive. He's a pretty good guy to put
run game
in his hands. And how about this one?
Help me out. YouTube, help me out.
Stunned him for a little bit.
Bro, this hasn't happened in ages, bro. What's going on, bro?
I want to piggyback off of what you know, Juice was saying, man, keeping Deshaun Watson upright. I think that was a big determining factor for this Texans offense, and because he was getting hit time after time again. You know, they went to the draft, they drafted Sharping, they drafted Titus Howard. Some people thought it was a reach at the time. He's kind of moved around the offensive line. They traded for Lermy Tunsil, so it kind of solidified their line. I know Tunsil and Titus Howard is kind of a little banged up, so you'll check the injury report. You know, Tunsil would be big in this matchup against this Ravens front. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, just keeping him upright, running the football well, and, you know, Deshaun's going to do what Deshaun do, man. He's going to make the big plays in the big moments of the game. So, you know what I'm saying? Just getting that run game going, keeping him upright, and making him take off, you know, in the fourth quarter.
Can't disagree. Okay. So I can't think of what I wanted to say, so I'm going to leave it there. But let's get into the key matchups of the game. I know you had spoken earlier about, you know, it's going to be, you know, what can the Texans do in terms of running the football. You know, with no J.J. Watt, I know that the Texans defense is kind of, you know, stellar in terms of their front seven. But, you know, when I look at the Baltimore Ravens offense and you look at, you know, the style of, they kind of beat you in a bunch of different ways, whether it be, you know, we gonna do that old school power football, punch you in the nose, or we're gonna add a little spice and a little dash and a little What's that seasoning? Is it Dash? Is it
Mr. Dash?
Mr. Dash? That's what it is. Oh, Mrs. Dash. It's not Mr.
Respect it.
Is that Mr.?
No gender.
No gender. We can't. Okay.
Mrs. Dash.
Mrs. Dash, throwing a little Mrs. Dash in there when you talk about a Lamar Jackson, and he's running up the middle and he's making people miss, and he's doing his best Michael Vick, or he's doing his best Lamar Jackson, and then you throw in a Marquise Brown. You know, it's a lot to prepare for. And I know, my brother, we used to talk about, the Gators back in the day, and how they, teams would have to prepare for 2 and 3 offenses, and you're only playing one team. And I think maybe that's one of those things that you're dealing with when you talk about the Ravens offense is you talked about them bringing in, the coach from Georgia Tech with the triple option. And then, it's just a bunch of different things that you have to deal with, you have to prepare for. And I would imagine teams are pulling their hair out like, yo, how are we going to stop all of this that's coming at us? You know what I mean? And it really comes down to, I don't know, and I'm going to put it out there, I don't know if anybody can really stop the Ravens but the Ravens. You know what I mean? And I know the one game specifically that I'm speaking to is when they played the Chiefs. They decided, hey, we're not going to play our game. We're going to try to do what the Chiefs do, and they fell flat on their face. Obviously, their defense kind of crapped the bed that game as well. But going against the Texans, I mean, they don't have the best secondary, man. And I feel like these receivers will probably eat this game. I feel like the run game, it may not be as dynamic this game. So I think, where I think that the Ravens can get off is in the passing game for me.
I think you mentioned something there about the Ravens being really the only team that can stop the Ravens on the offensive side of the ball. And I think there's some legitimacy to that. You cited the KC game that they lost on the road, and they really, at that point, they really weren't in a flow anyway. Lamar came out week 1 torched the Dolphins, throwing screamers, throwing slants, you know what I'm saying? It was all working. Back to the well against the Chiefs, trying to really basically replicate what they did against Miami, and I don't know if they played Cincinnati before they ended up playing KC, but the first time around. But at any rate, I tend to agree with you. The only other scenario that may be a challenge, and it remains to be seen, is when this team has to play from behind. And not, a one score game. I'm talking, you're down 14 points. You know what I mean? The game is it's getting later in the game. Can you effectively push the football down the field through the air? And to me, it's not even. Of course, I think overall people think about, okay, well, can Lamar, put the team on his back via his right arm? That's not my question. My question is, can receivers create? Can receivers make contested catches? Because I think Lamar's going to be able to get the ball to him.
Yeah.
I really do. I think Lamar is, and I'm not saying that he's a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. There's still work to be done. But I think Lamar has the capability. And given those opportunities, everybody's mindset is still thinking about that playoff game where it took basically 2 television hours for him to complete a pass. That's not the player that he is anymore. That's not the offense that he's in anymore. That's not the coaching that he's receiving anymore. There's no concern in terms of, okay, is there a Joe Flacco, that could come in? No, this is his team, and everybody seems to believe. So are those other guys in those types of moments? Are they able to step up? Because right now everybody's a front runner. All right, and the rest of the team deserves credit too. Don't get me wrong. All right, they're playing better defensively. Guys are making plays, but everybody else has to step up. You're going to have to hold that block a little bit longer. You're going to have to be a little bit sharper in and out of your breaks. You're going to have to catch that 50-50 ball and help your quarterback out a little bit more. It can't just be Lamar under those circumstances. Putting the ball in the belly of the running back and taking off, doing what he did obviously against the Bengals last week.
Yeah, man. You brought me to a question I want to ask you guys, man. Speaking about, Lamar Jackson, because I agree with you, man. It's not yet being. We have to see it, being behind, having to come back. You know, when everyone knows you're going to pass the ball, you know, because the biggest strength the Ravens have right now is unpredictability. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if we're going to do an option, put the running back, Mark Ingram at the middle, or we're going to beat you deep. You know, when they have so many, you know, different ways to go about it, it's hard to defend.
Yeah.
But my question now, I want to kind of compare these two quarterbacks, man, and ask you guys, down 6 with 1:30 left, which one of these quarterbacks do you prefer as your quarterback, Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson?
I'm probably going to take Deshaun because he has DeAndre Hopkins to throw the football to.
I'm just talking about in the vacuum.
In a vacuum, if they both had the same receiver, same offensive.
I'm going Watson, and it's because Watson is a more accomplished passer than Lamar is. You know what I'm saying? My whole point is that I think Lamar can get to that point. We haven't seen it yet. He hasn't been tested in that way yet. I mean, it seems on a weekly basis Watson is being tested in that way. So yeah, obviously I have more confidence in Watson because he's done it frequently. You know, the Ravens have been so explosive and they've been so effective in terms of their approach that they haven't necessarily have to play that catch-up type of role. You know, it's only really been once this season where they've been in that position. And it wasn't great. It wasn't great. That again, that doesn't mean that he's not going to get better at it. That doesn't mean that he isn't capable of it. But certainly, Watson has more a proven track record at both the collegiate level and the professional level. You know, before we move on, I should say, I did want to bring back up the whole concept that you were mentioning, Drew, in terms of the Ravens being the only team that can really stop them. We mentioned, you know, what happens if the Ravens stub their toe, you know, turn the ball over, you know, give a couple short fields and get down by a couple of scores. You know what I mean? What happens then? But I think there's something to be said about teams' inability to prepare for the Ravens. Like you said, Headley, you don't know what's coming, but there's no way to simulate Lamar Jackson.
And his speed and what
there's no way to simulate that in practice to prepare for it. So you might have a whole, I mean, again, you go back to that playoff game a season ago, the Chargers knew what was coming. There were tells, and that was Marty Morningway. That was inferior coaching on the part of Marty Morningway. But now there's a certain level of novelty associated with this offense, and then Lamar he changes everything. You know what I'm saying? His ability, his athleticism, his confidence, which is growing as a passer as well. It changes everything. There's no way to really, truly replicate what he brings to the table. So while he may not necessarily have the weapons Watson has, it's his, and Watson's no slouch either in terms of being able to create on his own and be an athlete, extend plays, and get a first down with his legs. But there's just nothing like Lamar Jackson in the NFL.
I mean, well said. Well said, man. We could go on and on about Lamar Jackson. I keep thinking of things to keep, but I don't want to harp on the Ravens. They're a very good football team. As long as the defense don't crap the bed and you know the offense stays within themselves. There's really nobody that can really beat them. We saw that not to talk about last week, but 2 weeks ago against the Patriots. But in terms of the Texans, man, this is a tested team. This is I like to call them greasy. They play in that AFC South. They play the hard-nosed Jaguars. They can play the close games. They can not necessarily ain't going to blow anybody out due to their coach over there, Bill O'Brien, outthinking himself sometimes. I think is he turning the corner, bro? Is he? I'm not gonna call him. Okay,
this is typical.
This is it. This is what they do.
Yeah.
They win a couple of games and then they go in and they crap the bed at some point, and then we look at ourselves and say, why is this guy still the guy in terms of Bill O'Brien running the show, which will probably be the guy running the show for the next I don't know how many years.
As long as he keep making playoffs.
He's coaching GM right now.
He's a GM too.
He's coaching GM. Yeah. So it is what it is from that standpoint. But I think the loss of JJ Watt, Juice, I'm gonna put you on the spot, man. Have you kind of backed down from your take on JJ Watt, man?
You try to put dirt on him.
Yeah, I'm just.
No, I definitely threw dirt on him. And he's proven that he still had plenty in the tank. Now there's obviously at this point in his career, his body is breaking down. There's no mistake about it. You know what I mean? He's more apt to get injured now. But when he initially came back from a third back surgery or something like that, I didn't see it. I didn't see the explosiveness. I didn't see the leverage he was playing with. But he ultimately got back to it. And he's a difference maker. Now, without J.J. Watt on top of Jadeveon Clowney, there's still a lot of good, players, particularly in that front seven. I really like Reed, the safety, on this team. It's not the same. It's not the same. And if you give any professional quarterback time to throw, or make it easy when you're declaring and having to blitz, that back end isn't good enough in totality to hold up on a consistent basis. They can make some plays, they can play a protracted battle, but if they can't affect the passer, if they can't collapse that pocket, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle, even if they do manage to slow down the rushing attack of the Ravens.
You get to the line, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
There's 4.
It's 4?
Baltimore favored by 4. What you got, bro?
I've been saying it. The Ravens are the only team that can beat themselves. I know there's somebody out there screaming they lost to the Cleveland Browns, but that was a boo-boo game for the defense.
That defense has gotten better.
No, they were uncharacteristic.
Now.
Yeah.
They got pick 6 Peters back in the fold, bro.
Yeah, I think the Jimmy Smith being reintroduced to the lineup was
huge, right?
Huge. They made some changes at the second level of defense. In terms of inside linebacker, outside linebacker, I think really now we're looking at the down line, the interior defensive line, and Heather, you were mentioning that there were some injuries up front that they're going to have to kind of combat. That could be a bit of a problem moving forward, but certainly they've done a much better job collectively.
I'm gonna go 20-24 Ravens. No, you know what? No, 20-26 Ravens.
2026 Ravens.
20-26.
Yeah. See, I see this game going back and forth, and then that's why I asked you guys the question, man. Which quarterback, would you rather have in those kind of games? Yeah. And you guys both said Deshaun Watson. I agree. It is Deshaun Watson.
We're not in the vacuum, bro.
We're not in the vacuum, and I just don't think that the Texans have enough horses on defense
exactly what I was thinking.
Just to slow this Ravens offense up. Yeah. So I'm going to also pick the Ravens. I'm going to go 31-20 Ravens. So they're going to cover that for.
I'm going to go 31-29 Ravens. I think the Texans, something weird. There's going to be 5 field goals because the Texans struggle in the red zone from time to time. And, Bill O'Brien has a tendency to get cute at times, and something unfortuitous happens to the Texans, and they end up losing this game. There's a failed 2-point conversion of some sort, something like that. But I do think the Texans cover. I think Watson's that good. I think he's that good. He's going to put pressure on the Ravens' defense. But ultimately, I think the Ravens' offense is going to be too much, particularly at home. Like I said, there's still a certain level of novelty associated with this Ravens offense. It's still growing. It's still expanding. I think there are personnel groupings. They dropped the Heisman trio in the backfield recently. There's still some stuff that they're going to have in their back pockets that teams are going to struggle. So if you haven't seen the Ravens before, I think teams that have played the Ravens have a better shot at beating them moving forward than those who haven't necessarily seen this particular iteration themselves. So it's going to be hard, particularly on the road, for the Texans to come away with the win. I think Watson keeps them in the game. It's a close one, but the Ravens pull it out ultimately. And Lamar does something spectacular in the meantime.
Going back to Michael Vick, man. In the open field, it's just every week this guy does something spectacular.
Almost said he was special, man. He said he's changing the game.
Yeah, man. MVP race, I have him second right now to Russell Wilson, but I think it's neck and neck between him and Russell Wilson. Deshaun Watson can put himself in that hat also with a strong performance here if he outplays Lamar Jackson. So I think he's on the outside looking in, but I think Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson are the front runners right now.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna ask y'all something that's a little bit off of NFL. We still in the football world. We gonna slide over to the college game because we do talk college. Let me ask y'all, man. How do y'all feel about the Chase Young suspension? 4 games.
Yo, this could take all day talking about the NCAA and the rules and everything like that. I think it's unfair, but based on their rules, they can suspend him for this. Is he playing this week? Because I heard 4 games, and now I heard that he's practicing.
I did see that he was practicing.
So I'm not sure, but there's some changes coming the NCAA's way, and they already announced what they're trying to do starting next season. So we'll see, man. But yeah, definitely unfair in my opinion.
It's a bit of a joke. It's a bit of a joke. Letter of the law, letter of the, and you can't see obviously, but it's air quotes, letter of the law. Yes, the NCAA is within their, I guess, self-appointed rights to suspend Chase Young. In the grand scheme of things, it's pretty silly, but it's also what I've come to expect from the NCAA. All right, their rules, their institutions, they're archaic and they're nonsensical, and they're designed to put as many, how I should say, limitations on the athletes as possible, despite the fact that it's the athletes that are generating
money,
incredible revenue. And I always say, this isn't about fairness, this is about equity. And I think there is a distinction to be made between those two words. People will talk about the college education that these students get. We're all college educated, but that didn't guarantee us anything.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? And unfortunately for us, we're not 6'6" and we're not 260 with that kind of athleticism. So we don't generate that kind of money. You understand what I mean? So with all that being said, the grand scheme, it's silly, but it's what you would expect from the NCAA as it's currently constituted.
Yeah, every time I see the silly rules, I'm suspending players for taking money for this, that, and the other, and in this case, obviously he took it from a family friend to, I guess, get his girlfriend to the Rose Bowl, I guess.
Yep.
And he paid it back. It's just, I just shake my head and I keep scrolling because, and I always wonder who's going to make this change. Who are the people that can make this change? Who are the people that can put the pressure on the NCAA and say, listen, this needs to change. It needs to change now because it just doesn't make any sense. It's silly. And I understand that, the rules are there so, things don't get taken advantage of. But,
It's the application. It's the application because it never seems to work this way for the coaches.
Yep.
Or the individuals, administrators within the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And the same rules just don't apply. And then of course, we're talking about this ability to generate revenue based on your own likeness. I think that's a huge step, and it can't come sooner. It can't come soon enough. You know what I mean? That way you can. It won't address everything, but it certainly will mitigate some of it. You know what I mean? And to me, that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, this is what it is. This is unfortunately the status that we're in, and frankly, outside of there being, as what's happened with college basketball, there being a federal wiretap, but again, who's going to jail? What are the consequences? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hear about players being ineligible. I hear about players, getting kicked off of teams and losing and not being able to play. But I don't really hear about anything else.
Nah.
I don't see coaches losing their jobs.
We just
I don't even hear about scholarships being revoked.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So It's beyond me. It's beyond me. But what I do know is that it's silly. It's nonsense.
CouchPotatoGM.com is the website. Couch Potato General Manager is the YouTube channel. You know it because you're on it. That's game of the week. I don't know who's playing next week, but we will have another show next week.